Hello everybody, this is Warren from the Rhapsody Piano Studio. Welcome to today's live lesson. I'm going to be teaching you how to play I've Got You Under My Skin. This is going to be for intermediate piano. It's been quite a while since I tackled this one. I think it's been years since I looked at it. So this is kind of like an updated lessons. I've got some feedback from some of you guys, and it seems like you want to do more intermediate lessons, and I definitely want to fulfill that request. So moving forward, I'll do my best to get more intermediate stuff out there, okay? And if there's anything else you want to learn on piano, concepts, practicing, or any other songs, pieces, definitely let me know about that. Okay, hi Curtis, how are you going? How are you doing? Yeah, I think you just popped in with another request too, so I'll take a look and see what I can do for you with that one as well. All right. Okay, sorry, it's a little crowded in here. We got some when I'm doing piano lessons and hard to get all the equipment out the way sometimes. All right. Make sure you're subscriber. If you subscribe first time you're here, so you can hit that notification bell so you can catch the notices of when I come out with these lessons and these tutorials. All right, so this is going to be Under My Skin. Okay, so I'm not really going to go over a lot of basic practice principles. Watch my easier lessons for that. But basic practice principles like chunking and stuff like that too. I'll just give you mainly some intermediate style tips. I guess that's a way to look at it. Okay, so Under My Skin. Okay, so that's mainly the first section there. I don't think you want to do any more than that when you're trying from the beginning session. Might be a good idea to play through it a couple times too, just so you get the kind of lay out the structure of the song or piece that you're working on. Easier levels, you want to do a little bit more chunking, but when you get more experience, you can definitely take a look at the whole piece. I'm not going to play through the whole thing because I have links to that. By the way, links to the sheet music and the tutorial for this will be in the cards, as well as the comments and all that after the live stream is over. All right, so from the very beginning, what makes that difficult, we have a eighth rest in the beginning. So it's like, if I tap my beat or tap my foot, you really want to feel that impulse before you start. Because sometimes when we have rests, silence, a lot of students have problems counting that correctly, okay? So, a good idea to just tap your foot a couple times before you do it, okay? So that's the difficulty there, okay? And these are just chords. Sometimes you just play through the progressions. If you hear the progressions, it makes it easier to actually play it. You don't have to think about the notes so much. So, and in fact, you could just go through that first. Just doing this. Alright, another thing too, we were talking about the time. The time signature for this is 4/4. Actually, you don't want to count it 4/4. It doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. I feel it in 2, like 1, 2, 1, 2. I think it flows better when you count in 2. However, if you have trouble with the rhythm, you definitely want to do the subdividing it into 4 beats. If you can't do 4 beats, you definitely can't do 2. And in some places, when we actually get to some parts in the music, it'll be easier to do in 4. It'll be easier to do in 2. Okay? All right. So that's the intro. Never get the rest. Then we start the song. Okay? When you play chords, a little bit of a more advanced concept. I always want to encourage you to do more than not more than you can, but if you're thinking about being advanced here, you want to see if you can voice that top note. So you should hear that above everything, because these are not chords like at the beginning. Kind of hard to do, so really just try to voice the top melody. That's what you want to do when you get to intermediate and more advanced levels. I can make it even softer, make the top note even louder. So you hear that clearly above everything else. It's really hard to practice this, however. So some tips, it's just it's kind of landing on your pinky first, and then it's just this comes right after. So this is a good way to practice first. Even like this. And then do it faster and faster. Until one day you can just... But it is incredibly difficult. Look up finger independence. That control will help you out with that, okay? How's it going, Chalky? Nice to see you here, my friend. So... here we have whole note. You want to hold this for the entire duration. Then here we have our first triplets. And then left hand, kind of moving to this pattern. Get these jumps. So this is I would do a lot first. Because if you're worried about moving around, it's actually going to affect the rhythm. But triplet. Here it's definitely easier to count in two. Because subdividing 1, 2, 3, 4, that's really hard to do. So if you're using a metronome, which I always suggest using a metronome, you can change this to if a beat of 2 if you were doing 4. It's just easier to count them. Triplet, triplet, triplet. Good idea to vocalize it as well, right? Triplet, triplet. You don't triplet, triplet, right? You want triplet, triplet, triplet. 1, 2, 3. Make it as even as possible, okay? And then make sure that's right before the third beat, before the other down beat. So it keeps that little jazzy feel. Otherwise, it's just gonna sound. Don't lose that. Okay, so that's basically it for the first line. Same thing here. Here it might be a little difficult with the right hand. Repeated notes, but adding the chords, more notes in the right hand here. That's kind of hard if you're not used to it. Especially if you're also still trying to voice to the top, one thing at a time, right? Make sure you let go slightly before you get to that, because if you hold on to it too long, that won't come out, okay? Good way to practice, I think, like up, down. If you want to do it really slow, up and down. You let gravity help you here. Okay, now here are more triplets. That's basically pretty straightforward for this section. In the left hand again, just really practicing going for these different chord positions, so you don't really have to think about it. Okay. All right. I think that's the basic challenges for this part, okay? All right, now I'm going to play it all the way from the beginning so you can kind of hear how this whole section sounds. see if there's anything different here. So second section here, I'll just lay out the parts you really need to practice. It's pretty much the same until you get to around measure 25. So I have triplets on top. So I'm using no pedal here. What's harder is to really have the continuation and longer notes on the bottom with your thumb, but keeping this melody going at the same time. Different harmonies, right? So we have triplet on top of one beat, or half note, whatever it is you're counting. Okay, so this definitely would be a good place to do a lot of slow practice. Take out the pedal. I'm trying to hold that here, okay? It's a really good idea to practice without any pedal first time around, because if we tend to depend on it too much if we don't think that way. Like, it's way too muddy, right? So holding it, you still have to depend on doing a nice legato, which is always a good idea, right? Making a nice legato, melodic as possible. Trying not to depend on the pedal so much as you can, right? Because what happens when I don't, if I kind of go backwards and I teach students to just use pedal without thinking about this, they'll just like, just naturally let go of it because they're like, oh, the pedal is just holding on to it, right? But that's not what the pedal is for. Remember that, okay? This is actually hard to do with both hands here, because this is coming off the on the offbeat instead of the downbeat. The right hand. So if you're not careful here, you might play it like this and come in on the downbeat. In fact, I might have done that the first time. Alright, it's really hard to do. Definitely use a metronome, okay? Careful right there. A lot of hand separate practice and doing hands together, like make sure you keep the rhythm like this. Okay, thank you, Chalky. I will see you some other time, my friend. Another good way to practice is actually taking the tie out and then put it back in. A lot easier. It creates an impression. Same thing here. A little easier there because you're not having another note on the downbeat. Okay. All right. Continuing on. It's pretty straightforward here. We just have a bunch of triplets. Changing the rhythm there. Make sure to be careful not to play this as a triplet. Okay, it's a different rhythm. And then here, they say 2/4. I don't like that though, because if your thumb's already here, you can go 1/2. Careful, your fingers are really close to the black keys, right? And these two notes I just like to catch with my thumb. Okay, so just the right hand. Back to both hands goes like this. So this rhythm again. Make sure you practice that. Just it was like the previous measures before, same idea. And then so that's pretty straightforward. Okay. So far, just main rhythms to be aware of: triplets, and then the when it comes off the downbeat, bum 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 bum. Right. right? Same thing. So remember the difficulty when you add the notes on the downbeat in the right hand. Because what's going to happen is your left hand, like I was saying before, is going to want to match up with the downbeat. So you're going to have to fight against that. It's really unnatural the first time around. Okay, so I'm going to play the second section for you. Give it a listen. Like 2 more pages to go. Another thing I want to mention, all those notes on the bottom, why they're so important, they're like sub melodies, right? So especially, let's say on Said to Myself, this is measure 25, you hear the one on the bottom. It's like a little, like I said, a sub melody on the bottom, going to 29. Let me highlight the bottom because it sounds kind of, you can actually practice it this way too. Maybe making the middle note the more prominent one, right? Just what do you want to do, okay? But those notes are also important. All right, moving on. So having too much fun enjoying this song. Let's go back to. It's kind of hard to do because holding the notes on the bottom, playing pinky on top. Okay, make sure you practice this without as much tension as possible. So a little slower practice in the beginning. It has to do with the wrist. If you don't keep your wrists, if you keep your wrist tight, then it's not going to sound good, it's not going to feel good. So it's just, you can even think bouncing up and down, at least in the beginning, good way to practice like this. You definitely don't want to do it when you're actually able to play it. It's not a good look and doesn't sound good. But this is good for slow practice because you're practicing playing without tension, right? Now here, that's fine, just holding down the bottom. Now here. Now, instead of holding one note, and this is a little easier with the top notes now, with your third finger, it's kind of difficult. So here we have this on the bottom, while this on the top. So I think it's just getting used to playing that, just coordinating it. And then you can think about voicing the top after. Okay? Same thing here. So it's really holding these notes and playing the melody on top is difficulty for this part. Keep going. Now that these bottom notes are kind of in between there, you see this? And then also a jump, see that? That's what you need to practice here. So from here, this is what starts the motion. That's one thing to practice, especially in slow practice, is a really good idea. To, when you're practicing it, start the motion earlier. You don't want to do this. Right? Not so good. So it's at the same time. This part's fine. This part's cool. We have that one on the bottom, and we'll have the melody on top. This is kind of hard to do, this fingering. 1, 4, 5. You might switch fingers there. Even 1, 3, 5. Okay? 1-4-5 is kind of hard to do. I would suggest 1-3-5. Okay. Alright, so I think that's enough for this part. I'll go back and play it for you. Left hand is pretty straightforward, just nothing really too tricky going on in the left hand. So right hand's gonna need a lot more practice for this part, in my opinion. Okay, so if I did both hands. Oh, this jump. Okay, I keep on going. What's going on here? More holding notes and then letting go there. So I do this, of course I do it really fast in the videos. It just goes at regular speed, but if I slowed it down, this is what's actually happening. And then I let go of this, then I play the thumb again. Just in a split second, right? Okay? So if I slow way down, it looks like this. Here. That rhythm again. Not a triplet. Okay, and then holding now here. Moving these fingers up, still holding the pinky on top, and then you move the pinky to the top note. So again, it's hard to see at regular speed. But if I slow it down like that, you can kind of tell what's going on. So a lot of complicated stuff actually going on here, even though it doesn't look like it. Okay, now here the beats are on the second and fourth. If we're counting in 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but again, it just depends on how you're counting it. I just do 2. So careful there, because the tendency, we've had this so far, like, right? You might do. It's just now that's right on the downbeat, okay, or on a second beat. Same thing here. And then these triplets, do not rush these. Make these as melodic as possible, as legato as possible. Okay, so let me play this part for you. So we have. That's another part actually. Just notice. So just really moving that next section as fast as possible. Like that, okay? Same thing at 49. Instead of 1-4, if that's too difficult, just do 1-3, okay? And then here, well, I think you're taking time as much. You can take as much time as you want. All right, now keeping going for measure 53. We got the repeat. Okay, so if we're looking at measure 53, a new rhythm. Bum 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 bum. Always good to like vocalize it if you can. Because you can vocalize it, you can definitely play it, right? And then triplet, another triplet here. Then we count 1, 2, 3, 4. We count 1, 2. And then back to the beginning if you want. So a lot of different rhythms going on here. It's pretty interesting rhythmically from that sense. So let me play both hands for you again. Okay, now just the last ending here. Pretty straightforward. There's no lyrics here, but it's kind of good to imagine. Under my skin, just in your head at least. Under my skin. Same thing here. Under my skin. And then. Yeah, I like the staccato there. A whole, some rest right there. So, of course, count this carefully, right? I didn't do so much. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're counting in 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And that's basically it for what I think are the things you need to practice in this song. So when you have a handle on this, I do suggest you use my tutorial to do more practice. This is more just to figure out what it is you need to practice, like the things I think you really need to focus on. But yeah, when you have this figured out, then you can just use the tutorial and do more self-practice. That's what I suggest. The links are everywhere. You can just skip to the parts you want to practice. You can just do hand separate if you want. Practice along with the video. Watch it in slow motion, right? Because you can change the the playback speed. So these are just practice tips here. And then use the video itself for more independent, intense practice. Okay, so I hope that helps you out. Make sure, if you haven't done so yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button on your way out and notification bell. And if you like this video, that would really help me out as well. And if you could share this with anyone who is interested in playing this awesome song on the piano. All right. Thank you guys so much. I will see you next time. It's kind of raining out here in Southern California. Hope we have some sunshine soon. Yeah, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you guys next time.